Welcome, listeners, and thanks for checking out the Inebri-art podcast. Before we get into it, I just wanted to mention that we are having a art show at Craft Beer Cellar, where we normally record. It is located on Main Street in Plymouth, Mass., and the art show is called Santa Loves Benjamin. There are 36 pieces from 17 different artists, and every single piece has a $100 price tag on it, so you can get some inexpensive art and give it away for a Christmas present, or just keep it for yourself, whichever you prefer. And that show will hang, well, it's hanging now, we just hung it up a few hours ago, and will hang until the middle of January, until we get the next artist up there. So make sure you stop by the Craft Beer Cellar, purchase your beer, cider, wine, whichever, up there from all the new artists, and Merry Christmas. So we are still here at Lucioso's while the Craft Beer Cellar sorts out their flooding problem. So if you're in the Plymouth area, feel free to stop by Lucioso's and grab a pizza and wings. It's a great local pub with excellent food and a great staff. Mm-hmm. And we are here today with Kyle Powers, artist, tattoo artist, and apparently sign maker, sign hanger.
That was one of the past.
So we met maybe like a little over a month ago when you showed up to drop off artwork for our art show, and I'd never seen you before, so I was a little baffled by that. But apparently you're friends with Caitlin, a friend of ours, and you dropped off a piece that I've honestly been dying to ask you about. What is that painted on? Because it is not canvas.
It is a canvas.
It is?
That guy right there, yeah, it's a canvas.
It feels like it reminds me of like a pleather kind of like fabric almost.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just the excessive amounts of paint that are on it.
Okay.
I may have done something else to it before when I was priming it, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Like how long ago did you paint it?
It was like a year ago, I think.
Yeah.
But my memory doesn't extend past last week, so.
Oh, fair enough. I get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a beautiful piece. So. I hate asking people like when they get started, because I feel like creative people have always been creative.
Yeah.
But like, when did you take an interest, like more professional-wise in art?
I mean, I've always kind of had an interest in it. My mom was a graphic designer, so I always kind of grew up. We always, like me and my brother, always drew like Star Wars or whatever movie we were into at the time. Mm-hmm. We'd always draw like little things that here and there. I actually was a guitar player, and that was like my goal in life was to be a rock star from the time I was like 11 until I was like 16. And then one of my buddies I was in high school with, they had to paint a mural for this like advanced art class. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Hey, I know you can draw," because we used to just hang out and doodle stuff together. He's like, "You want to get in on this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we painted this mural, and it was absolutely ridiculous. It was like cheeseburgers with tentacles and raccoons and spaceships and aliens and a bunch of weird stuff. And this is on a mural in a high school.
So it was just like part of class, kind of?
Yeah, well, that was like the final assignment was to do a mural. And they're like, "Yeah, we don't want to do it. Do you want to help? And, like, make it something cool?" And we're like, "Yeah, why not?" I had never really done anything before that point. And after we did the mural, as ridiculous as it was, it actually came out pretty well. So they asked me if I wanted to be a part of that class. And that's like where I learned how to oil paint and acrylic paint. Pretty much everything else I know about art happened in high school. So
where'd you go to school?
Plymouth North.
So you're originally from Plymouth?
Yeah.
And so now, professionally, you do tattoos, correct?
Yep.
Which I'm super excited. Like two things I wanted on this podcast when we started. One was a stand-up comedian, and one's a tattoo artist. So you're our first tattoo artist. Monday we're recording our first stand-up comedian, so
nice.
Check. And I find tattoos super interesting because I love the artwork behind it. I've had hundreds of people tell me I should tattoo, and I have zero interest in doing it. I don't have tattoos. I don't want a tattoo. So I feel like me being a tattoo artist would be ridiculous. So what brought you into that field?
Well, I've had an interest since I got my first one when I was like 16, and my dad took me to get it, and ever since that
So
point...
you can get a tattoo at 16?
Some places do, some places don't. The place I'm at now doesn't allow it.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, some shops allow it, like piercings.
Yeah.
Where if you have parental consent, you can do it. But, I mean, that's a whole different story. Tattoo laws are different in every town in Massachusetts. So,
Oh, okay. So as a professional, let me ask you, because I have two kids who are both heading towards teenage years, would you recommend someone at 16 getting a tattoo if they want?
Nope.
Okay. Excellent. Next question.
Yeah.
I asked that because my son listens to the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I have some tattoos. When I started doing them all myself when I was around that age.
Yeah.
And not that I don't really like them, it's just, I did a bunch of things kind of impulsively, and I hit a point where I had nowhere to go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on my forearm I have this ram, which I actually kind of like. That was one of my first ones. Then I have a porthole, and then I have a shark up here.
Did you do that porthole yourself?
I didn't do the porthole,
okay.
but I did the shark.
Okay.
And I did a lot of stuff on myself. But now, I don't mind them, but I'm getting them all lasered off right now, so because there's nowhere to go from here. So I'm just going to try to get it all covered up with a full sleeve.
Yeah.
And, I have somebody set up to do it already. It's just a matter of time.
I feel like that's part of it, is to, decide what you want in advance. Because, I've seen people have, one tattoo here, one tattoo there, and then they kind of, I guess clash is the only word that I can think of.
Yep.
But it doesn't it doesn't make sense together. Where, opposed if you have, sleeve, I know a buddy of mine did an entire Nintendo sleeve, and that was, his goal from the beginning. So, every tattoo at least works towards that end.
Right. I usually try to convince people when they come in trying to get something small. It's not that I think it's a bad idea at all, because, small tattoos are cool, too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they should get it dead center in the middle of their arm.
Yeah.
Because, if you ever do want to get something bigger, you have to put it on the back of your arm. It's just not going to look right.
Right, yeah.
Or you're going to wind up covering it up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually try to convince them to get it somewhere that's not in, plain sight. For their first tattoo, it should be something small, somewhere somewhat hidden, in case you do hate it, which doesn't usually happen. Usually people come back.
Yeah.
I usually try to encourage people to go big, because you just going to want to keep adding on to it like I did.
Yeah.
And then you're going to hit a brick wall with it. I mean, sometimes it works out, with traditional style tattoos.
Yeah.
Sometimes it looks cool. You can just put filler behind it and it looks cool, but you start getting into realism in new school, sometimes it doesn't always work that way as a composition, especially when you have 6 different artists getting involved. Then you have all sorts of stuff going on.
Right.
It doesn't read right. It doesn't read as one piece. It reads as
multiple pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of looks. I think people start to look like the back of those old cars with 900 bumper stickers. None of them have anything to do with each other.
That's an interesting way to put it. I've never heard that before.
But and honestly, it's the only reason why I've never gotten a tattoo is every time I could never make up my mind long enough to get one. And anytime I would come up with I think that'd be kind of a cool tattoo, I would see someone with a tattoo and be like, oh fuck, I don't want that now. And I've just never kind of settled on one long enough to get one.
Yeah.
If someone is kind of obviously if they're on the fence, they should get one. But if say someone's getting their first tattoo, is there a specific space that you would recommend, or?
First tattoo is kind of up in the air. It's whatever you want to get. Just kind of, definitely keep it on the smaller side just to see if you can tolerate the pain. Everybody's pain tolerance is different. Different areas of the body have different pain tolerances.
What is historically the worst place?
I think you can imagine.
Huh?
I think you can use your...
all right. But come on.
No,
what is the surprising area? Is there an elbow or...
Elbows...
is there one weird spot that most people don't think of that's surprisingly painful?
Yeah. There's a couple. There's actually a chart, if you search on Google, tattoo pain chart, there's a pretty accurate one. And it goes from like yellow to blue. The knees are in blue as one of the most painful. Knees behind the knees are really painful.
I can see behind the knees.
Yeah. Elbows, inside the elbows,
yeah,
not fun. Rib cages are pretty notoriously known for sucking. Pretty much anywhere on your torso. I usually tell people anywhere that doesn't usually see sun isn't going to feel good.
Yeah.
So anywhere that you're normally pale, the skin's a little more delicate. It hasn't been sunburned a million times.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably going to hurt more. It's a different kind of skin too. It stretches a lot. So,
yeah. So that I would imagine on the healing side that would irritate more because you're like if you're moving it constantly.
Yeah, especially on the elbow. The elbow's not a fun feel. But yeah.
So now I have learned through tonight. We always record multiple podcasts at once. That I am old as fuck. And back in my day, when I was in high school, everyone got the Tasmanian Devil to the point where you'd walk into places and they're like, "We do not tattoo that." Have you ever like refused to do a tattoo and like I'm not doing that, or is there like a cliche thing that you're like, yeah, we don't do that?
It's actually funny you say that because I didn't do it, but one of the other guys in my shop actually did a Tasmanian Devil tattoo today.
I don't feel like it's as bad as, I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, in like 91.
Well, then another guy that was friends with him came up to me and he's like, "Yeah, I was going to get a Tasmanian Devil tattoo like back in the day," and then. Or no, he said he got that instead of a scorpion because his girlfriend wanted it or whatever. But,
yeah.
Usually I don't turn people's ideas away. I might try to like steer them in a different direction. The things that seem to be popular now is silhouettes of birds, infinity signs. Those are the immediate ones that come to mind. I mean, roses and anchors and skulls are always going to be popular.
Right, yeah,
those are
classics.
Those are going to be different every time you get one. They're not all set in stone. A lot of, like, the quotes and stuff, just kind of like, you know.
Yeah, there seems to be a fad, and I don't, like, I appreciate the art behind tattoos, and the thing that I do not understand is the simple words, like, just, like, I've seen people with just Irish down their arm or like some quote and there's like no image behind it. I don't understand that.
Yeah. I vowed to myself when I first started getting tattoos that I wouldn't get a word on my body.
Yeah.
But, you know, some people don't think like that, so it's like some people think I remember vaguely in high school they were talking about some people think more in like terms of like, you know, spatial, visual. Some people are more like literary or whatever. And you know, different things mean different things to different people.
Sure.
Like, one person looks at a picture and like they discover the meaning of life, and then another person looks at it and like, oh yeah, that's a picture.
Right.
So I mean, words mean more to some people because it's a more literal definition.
To me, it's just a incomplete image. Like from the visual standpoint, like if you just had.
Yeah.
I'm thinking one specific person, and you just had Irish tattooed down your arm, just the letters and nothing else. It's just like, to me, it doesn't look done.
Right. I don't disagree with you. There are certain ways to make it like flow a little bit better with your body, like curving the line that the letters are on. Sometimes helps.
Just kind of like mimic the shape of the body.
Yeah. A lot of the form of a tattoo and like what makes it look like it's placed well is how well it goes with the muscles underneath the skin. So if it goes opposite of that, then it might look weird for most things. But you know, in general, S shapes, anything that your eye can like travel along, are gonna like look better.
Yeah.
And more visually pleasing as a composition.
Is the tribal tattoo thing over? People still come in and want like a tribal tattoo.
You might think so now that we're not in the 90s anymore, but it is still a thing. And you know, sometimes it can be cool. There's actually, we kind of branched off into a new style called biomech.
I saw a really cool one of those on Facebook just the other day. And it legitimately looked like he had a robot arm.
Yeah, it's all like inspired by H.R. Geiger.
Yes.
Giger, whatever.
Giger. Huge fan.
Yeah, I like Alien and stuff, and that style's really cool. And it actually has very similar shapes to Tribal. It's just a more like three-dimensional, organic approach to it.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. There's a lot of like artists that are taking it to the next level with that, like Guy Aitchison, who's actually like one of the how do I say this? Like pretty much the only tattoo educator out there right now.
Like does he like teach a class or?
He does. I actually took one from him last week. He did a seminar at Paradise Tattoo Gathering in Hancock, Mass.
Okay.
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah,
he's the only one that has written a textbook on tattooing.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And it is not in print anymore. It is very hard to find, but it's very selling out there. And that goes through literally everything. It's very helpful.
Yeah. So who are your influences tattoo-wise?
I like a lot of the portrait artists. Nico Hurtado is one of the most renowned portrait tattoo artists in the world. A lot of Polish artists are actually really catching my attention lately. Ad Poncho, a lot of like people I just like scroll through on Instagram and find. And a lot of like realism with a lot of heavy black. A lot of big images, not so much small stuff. They do like entire back pieces and like 6-inch sections of them will just be blacked out to like make a skull. Like big realistic pieces. And it's really cool that like this a couple of years ago tattooing was just like flat sheets and stuff, and now it's evolving into this giant art form that's pretty much almost the same as oil painting at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, as far as tattoos are concerned, I'm a layperson, but there's more, I don't want to say pride, there's not people going in and being like, oh, let's go get a tattoo Thursday, and they walk in and they pick it off the wall. I feel like they're like, oh, my tattoo guy is this guy, he does all my tattoos, and like there's more research and they're more interested in the specific person to do tattoos. Is that true, or is that just kind of my perception of it?
No, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
You're not going to go to a traditional guy for realism, and you're not going to go to a guy that does biomech for traditional.
Yeah.
It's like...
What style do you...
I do a lot of black and gray realism and
which is obvious from the painting that you did.
Yeah, I really like black and gray. I do color realism too, and some new school, but not a lot. But I don't, I enjoy doing it, but I just don't really, the need doesn't arise for it, because people usually come to me for black and gray.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like that you get kind of pigeonholed, like where you want to do more new school or try something?
Yeah.
Is it tough to try something new, because obviously, like, you gotta find a guinea pig?
Yeah, it is, but I have, I have a couple people that have been with me from the start that are, like, willing to come in and, like, they're just like, yeah, man, we'll do whatever you want. I'm like, all right, cool. And, I feel like they wind up with, obviously, it's, like, what I wanted to do, so I'm going to say it's the coolest, but, a lot of the times that's, like a lot of the work in my portfolio comes from that. And there's nothing wrong with, wanting your own tattoo, because that's what it's all about.
Right.
Nobody would get it if it was just, like, somebody else's ideas on you.
Right.
It's just my interpretation of what you want. But, yeah, you do sometimes get kind of pigeonholed into doing one specific style.
Kyle's the black and white guy.
Yeah. But also, if you, like, do a lot of drawing, I started doing more digital art, and that's helped a lot. Just post things online, like pictures you've drawn, and just say you want to tattoo them, and a lot of times you'll get a bite from that. Yeah. And that's kind of how you branch out from there.
Now, do you find, I was talking about this with one of our previous podcast people, now, with all the things that we do at Inebri-art, I find that I'm hard-pressed to get my own artwork done with your tattoos. Do you still have enough time to paint? Do you wish you had more time to paint?
Certain times of the year, I wish I could more, but, certain, like, winter usually starts slowing down a little more. I don't know what it is about being in the sunshine and swimming that makes people want to get tattoos. You can't be in either of those.
I was going to say, it seems like that would be the time not to get one.
Yeah, no, but that's usually like, people showing off their bodies a little more, they want to, have things to accentuate it.
Mm-hmm.
Usually during the winter is when I start painting more. I did a commission today of, it was a dog portrait, and, I still try to make time. There's like, I work from 12 to 6 at the shop, and then I go home, and what I do is I either draw for the next day, for the next tattoo I have to do, or I'll sit there with like an oil painting or something. I just have like small ones going at a time.
Yeah.
But oil paintings take a million years to finish anyway, so...
And they take forever to dry, so
yeah,
you can get
exactly.
somebody to get going. Yeah.
It takes about like a month to fully finish one, so...
So is that your medium of choice, is oil?
Recently it has been, but not always.
Yeah.
I've experimented with every type of medium I could ever find. Tattooing is just the one that stuck with me. I did a lot of wood burning. I just recently started getting into airbrushing, which is actually really fun.
Yeah.
I was always intimidated by it before.
Are you familiar with Drew Struzan?
No.
There was I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but there's a phenomenal documentary on Drew Struzan on Netflix. He pretty much painted every movie poster in the 80s that you can think of.
Was he the guy who did Star Wars?
He did not do the original Star Wars. He did the Star Wars re-release DVD covers.
Okay.
He did Goonies. He did all the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
And he does airbrushing and then oil on top of it and uses some colored pencil.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just his work is gorgeous, like absolutely gorgeous.
It's always fun trying to combine those different things.
Yeah.
Like doing like an acrylic painting under an oil painting, which isn't like the traditional way to do it, but like, sometimes when you do weird things like that, you get really cool effects.
Yeah, and I almost feel like sometimes you can kind of get stuck in one thing and be like, you just use Sharpie on this, and you're like, well, then use Sharpie on it. If that's what you need, do it.
It's like, yeah, mixed media is, I feel like, frowned upon in the artistic community for whatever reason, but sometimes using one thing to fix another ends up being way cooler and way different, which is really important. It gives it a totally different effect.
Yeah. Now, outside of tattooing, do you have that you here? Is there like another artist that you found inspiration in?
Actually, most of my art inspiration now comes from tattoo artists. I follow a lot of Instagram pages. Just look at what everybody else is doing. Tattoo art has become like kind of a norm to me. I still enjoy looking at like oil paintings and stuff, but the subject matter of tattoos has always interested me a little more.
Yeah. You seem like you'd be more into like lowbrow art, like Coop or Ralph Steadman.
No.
Ralph Steadman. Have you ever heard of Hunter S. Thompson?
Yeah.
Ralph Steadman was kind of like his illustrator.
Okay.
He does all the Flying Dog beer labels.
Okay.
Which kills me because I love his art, so I want to buy the labels, but I don't drink IPAs, and it's like they're all IPAs.
Yeah.
But
yeah, IPAs have great art always.
Yeah. Oh God, one of the girls at the craft beer cellar yells at me constantly. I'll be like, "Oh, this label's awesome." She's like, "You don't drink the label," and I'm like, "I don't care, I'm buying it because it's pretty."
Yeah, I got a couple sitting on my shelf that just have cool labels.
Which makes me end up drinking like horrific beers because it's like sometimes you're like, "Oh, it's hibiscus beer." The label's pretty.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I got off track there.
Okay.
So you do a lot of oil painting. It's funny because I hated oil painting in school, and it was because I couldn't deal with the turpentine.
Yeah.
And everything I did was always muddy. And then a friend of mine's like, I just used Dawn liquid dish detergent, and I'm like, that works. He's like, they use it to take oil off of ducks, and so that's all he uses. I mean, are you use the turpentine and go through all that process?
I use odorless mineral spirits because turpentine sucks, and it's
I just feel like it got dirty instantly, and then everything was muddy.
Yeah, I have a big jug of paint thinner that I just pour little shot glasses on when it gets dirty. I dump it out, get new ones, and I have the fast drying medium. I think it's Galkid that I use for not so much thinning it out, but doing thicker layers and glazes and stuff. And usually a mixture of the two works well. I haven't tried turpentine. I've always wanted to, but I've spent a lot of time around paint thinner. I'm pretty comfortable with what it does.
Yeah.
I don't like the smell either, but
no, it's not pleasant.
I used to paint cars and stuff too, so it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. So I only used it in school, and I just never even really went beyond that. I was just like, no, it's not for me. And but there's something about oil paint that you just can't get any other way.
Yeah.
It's just a specific look to it.
Well, allegedly you can mix them with water now too. They have the water soluble.
Oh, the water soluble. Yeah.
I haven't really used them because I know you can still use paint thinner with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know how that works. I usually stick with the straight oil, but I would be interested to try that sometime.
Is there anything else that because you just said you just started with airbrushing, or you?
Yeah, within the past couple months.
Is there like another medium that you're interested in trying out?
I did some wood burning, back in the day, and I feel like I didn't take it very far. And I'd like to give it another shot. They have some crazy pyrography tools on the market now that I kind of wanted to get. It's just a lot of it requires investment. It's like, how much money do I really have to spend on toys right now?
Right.
And it's not really a toy. It is like a tool, but I would like to go back into wood burning and play with that a little bit more. Maybe even wood burning and oil painting together would be cool.
Yeah, it's like that kind of mixed medium. Like, that's some of my favorite stuff is when people really push.
Yeah.
Either take something that you think wood burning is more like a crafty type thing, but then take that outside of that and make it something different by adding more to it.
Like those guys that carve the logs and they stain them. Have you seen? There was a video online a little while ago of a guy that he carved a snake into a walking stick, and then he stained the walking stick so that the snake was a lighter color than the walking stick, and it was all one piece of wood, but it looked absolutely insane. And I was like, wow, I really want to do that.
Yeah. The thing that I saw most recently, because we're always trying to find interesting things to post on our Inebri-art Facebook page. We always try to have something come up at 5 o'clock. And I found a YouTube video of this guy he's a Japanese guy, and he makes candy sculptures. So they're basically lollipops, but they're these elaborate dragons and goldfish, and it's just amazing the weird things that people can kind of latch onto. And
yeah.
I set one up today that will probably be posting around. It'll probably be already posted by the time this podcast go up. But they make sculptures out of rolled up newspaper.
That sounds cool.
And unbelievable, super realistic stuff, of all these animals, monkeys and elephants and shit, and just amazing what people can do.
Yeah.
So, I feel like we got off the tattoo train there, but that happens. So, what is your favorite thing to tattoo?
I really like doing roses.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That seems like that's a common thing, too.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
You can make them, kind of different every time, and it's something that's because it comes in so often, you don't feel bad practicing it, and because you practice it, you want to do more of it, so it just turns into kind of a cycle. Black and gray roses and traditional roses. I want to start getting more into color realism roses now, because I feel like I've already done enough black and gray ones.
Yep.
I feel like it's something that looks good on pretty much anybody for any reason. Whenever a woman comes into me and says oh, I want a sleeve or something, I'm like, what looks good? I'm floral, roses and stuff. That's who could ever complain about a rose?
And it is kind of I could see a rose being good on a guy or a girl. I could see that kind of it's not being you'd think that it would be pretty much predominantly female, but I feel like a lot of guys. It's pretty traditional, in the classic tattoo style.
Yeah.
There's a lot of roses.
A lot of women get them as decorative, and they look great. guys usually more for like memorial pieces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Or I can see like part of another tattoo, like a skull.
Yeah, skulls and roses, guns and roses, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably wouldn't see too many guys walking around with decorative floral sleeves.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, it's just something that you don't see very often.
Yeah.
I would totally do it if somebody asked me to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever you're paying for.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you this funny tattoo story, and I feel like being an artist, people always ask me to draw tattoos. Oh, you draw my tattoos, and I don't refuse, but I pretty much kind of blow it off because for me to charge to do an illustration and then for them to turn around and pay to get the tattoo done, it's like insanely expensive, and that's not the smart way to do it. But I had this girl ask me one time, she's like, "Oh, will you draw a tattoo for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, whatever. What do you want?" She's like, "Oh, well, I want flowers like these," and she kind of like turns around and flips up her shirt to show off like a tramp stamp. And I look at the guy next to me and I look at her and I'm like, "Those are hearts, not flowers." And she's like, "Oh, right, my friend got the flower." Like, oh, had no idea what tattoo she had.
It's the thing with back tattoo.
Yeah, it's just like it was gone from her memory. Like she didn't even think of what she had.
Yeah.
So now, when someone gets like a full sleeve or like a huge back tattoo, obviously those are done in like stages.
Yeah.
So like, what is the recommended like max? Like, don't go more than X number of hours or whatnot.
I mean, certain shops I've been at, they'll go for like 6 to 8 hours. I usually cut it off at 3. Most of the time, because most of the time after 3 hours, your back hurts, the client's back hurts, the client's skin hurts, they're sick of it. Either their butt's asleep or their arm is asleep, and they just nobody's comfortable anymore.
Like, do you ever get like the person who just can't stop moving? Like, what is?
I do all the time.
Like, how do you deal with that?
Firm grip. Do your best.
Yeah.
To hold them down, and just try to we'll figure out why they're moving. So just kind of ask them. Sometimes it's something that's a little farther beyond just being a fidgety person. Sometimes it could be because
just the position they're in, or
it could be low blood sugar, which you really need to watch for.
Is that like a common thing? Like, I would never even think of that.
Well, if you haven't eaten all day and then you start having trauma done to your skin, it kind of takes a decent amount out of you. So you need to make sure. That's like one of the questions on the consent form is, have you eaten in the past 4 hours? We have like Jolly Ranchers and stuff to get your blood sugar back up, because that's like when people start passing out because of tattoos. It's usually because of low blood sugar. You can usually tell if somebody's about to pass out beforehand.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll tell you when you start, if I do pass out, don't wake me up until it's done.
Yeah.
Just because you don't want to go through the pain.
Right, yeah.
But we carry like smelling salts and stuff to wake people up, and yeah.
Does that happen like a lot? Do you get a lot of people that pass out?
The only time I've used smelling salt is my initiation when I first started working at the shop, and it was very unpleasant.
Yeah, I stumbled across that. That is like one of like the dumbest things I ever did. I was little, and I didn't know what they were. And my sister's like, "They're smelling salts," and I didn't even know what the hell that was. I'm like, "Oh, you smell them?" And I'm just like, full on.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it hurt.
It feels like you're getting punched in the face.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it's not a good time.
No.
So I would not recommend that to any of our listeners.
Certainly not.
So we were kind of talking earlier about kind of like the. There's different rules in each town. Every shop kind of has like their own standards. But what is your personal feeling on like things that I've heard are like below the wrist and above the neck? Like those seem to be kind of hot button issues.
Yeah. I haven't done it, and I probably won't for a long time do anybody's face. I usually tell people who want to get hands and necks that should be the last part of the body that they get filled out.
Yeah.
They should have back pieces, sleeves, and chest pieces before they move on to the neck or the hands. Because that's the one that, it's definitely gotten a lot more lenient over the past couple of years, but it's still kind of a taboo thing even at this point. You can have it go to your sleeve. I've seen nurses with full sleeves, and they didn't have to cover them up or anything.
Yeah.
But, you get it on your hands, you start getting cliche, like, oh, did you get that done in prison?
Right or wrong, it's kind of lumped in with prison and like gangs. And, and like I said, I'm not saying it's right, but that's just the way that it is.
The way I see people enrolled to that is tattoos are getting a lot better every year. And, I think
they're getting a lot more respect, too, for being a real art form.
And it is turning into that, and it wasn't always. It was just kind of like a mark before. Now it's actually like a piece of art.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot more acceptable for somebody to have a piece of art on their hand than a mark.
Yeah.
When I see people with tattoos, I don't necessarily judge them anymore. And I noticed that after I started working at a tattoo shop and seeing like all different people that like it doesn't really matter anymore. But like sometimes you'll be in a grocery store and you'll see somebody with tattoos and like you see like an older person walking by them and it's like this disgust. But yeah, it's definitely like getting a little more lenient, especially with jobs.
Yeah.
The military is kind of like laxed up on their tattoo laws and the police departments. But everyone's different.
And I mean, to me, it was like my father had tattoos, and so like I've never thought twice about it. It's like Dad had them, so I was like, you don't look twice because you've always seen them. It's never like a big deal. And I think the closest I ever got to getting a tattoo, he passed away 13 years ago, give or take. And he had a shamrock on his forearm that he got when he was in service in Okinawa, and the guy free-handed it.
Oh, yeah?
And so that was kind of like one that he was always proud of. And I almost got a shamrock there with him. It just never could decide on design. And I was like, I don't want to get one unless I design it myself. And that just never happened.
Yeah.
So,
I started, when I first started getting tattoos, I knew from the first time I, like, put it in somebody's skin, I was like, alright, well, this is what I want to do. So, I just started practicing on myself, and ultimately I was like, I don't really care what's on me, like, I'm just here to, like, I feel like my purpose here is to, like, put cool things on other people.
Yeah.
I'm just a practice.
So how old were you when you decided?
16.
16?
Yeah.
And so if someone wanted to start, what would your recommendation be?
Don't tattoo anybody else till you're in an apprenticeship.
Until you're in an apprenticeship?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, how would they practice?
By drawing and painting and doing every other form of art and building a portfolio.
Okay.
Portfolio, just, look at tattoo artists. Like, find artists you like, find out what style you like, and practice the hell out of it until you get, like, a solid portfolio full of, like, 12 pieces that you feel confident enough to bring into a tattoo shop and be like, this is what I have to offer. Are you guys looking for somebody? Sometimes they'll like your work, and sometimes they just won't have a spot for you. Other times, they'll think your work is crap and try to crap on you, so, your self-esteem goes down and they have less competition in the future.
Yeah.
I went through, like, 8 or 9 different tattoo shops before I got my apprenticeship.
And sometimes it's almost like, I've heard of different fields in the art and creative worlds where it's, you've seen Fight Club, right?
Yeah.
So the part where they're like, fuck you, you're not good enough, go away.
Yeah.
And you have to stand there.
That's exactly.
And it's almost like...
That's actually like a perfect thing.
It's like you walk up and be like, hey, I want to be just like you, and they're like, no, go away. And because they only want people who are serious.
Yeah.
And they want the person who's going to be like, you're not going to tell me no, because I'm going to do this.
Yeah. You definitely gotta be like really persistent about it.
Yeah.
And show that you're dedicated, because it's not, a lot of people I feel like going into it still think about it as a hobby, and it really doesn't end up being a hobby. It winds up.
It's borderline a lifestyle.
It pretty much is, because that's all I do at this point.
Right.
I drink and draw, and that's pretty much the activities I have.
But you don't drink prior to the tattoos you give out.
No, I
right. Just want to clear that up for our listeners. No. So I just thought of this funny story. My daughter was 5, maybe, and my ex sent me a picture of her, and not really head to toe, but maybe like neck down, covered in marker. And so I immediately call him like, all right, I feel like there's a story here. And my ex was like, yeah, I was changing her for bed, and that's what I found when I undressed her. I said, Zoe, what are you doing? And she goes, Mommy, I had a tattoo artist. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. And she's like, it's not awesome. I'm like, no, she drew a person like on her chest and stomach but like right side up. So not like she was even at that age, she was smart enough to like draw it right side up to everyone else and not like upside down like most kids would do. Be like, this is how I see it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's amazing. My guy's like, you don't know what I talk to you.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was great. So
I did a chess piece on myself when I was 18. That was tough.
I was gonna say that. It seems like that'd be really awkward.
I'm still working on it. Well, now I'm working on covering it up. But
yeah.
Like,
do you do a lot of cover-ups? You get like a lot of people in being like,
there's a decent amount of them, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's small stuff. A lot of times after, if it's too dark, if there's too much black in it, I usually have to tell them to go get a couple sessions of laser. It's really the only way it'll look halfway decent. There are some places they'll just be like, yeah, we'll do it, but like in reality, it's not going to look good when it's done. You're just going to have a bigger mess instead of
the smaller mess.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Exactly.
No, I don't want to like plug them, but it's the only one I've ever heard of. Like Wrecking Bomb, is that like a decent product?
It's not a real thing.
It's not. It's just like
it's an acid that burns your skin, but it doesn't actually help down the breaking up of the ink molecules at all. The only reason laser works is it speeds up the aging process. Over time, your white blood cells go in and start breaking down the large particles of ink under your skin, and slowly just start chipping away at them like a miner.
And the laser goes in and breaks up.
The laser goes in, heats it up, breaks it into smaller particles, and once it's small enough, your blood can filter it back in through your liver, and then it ultimately goes in the toilet.
Right.
And that's pretty much how the aging process works, and that's how laser works.
So it goes through your liver. Does that affect like how drunk you can get? Like that's not going to interfere.
Not that I know.
All right.
No, but yeah, it is a pretty crazy process. There's some cool videos online. Honestly, half the reason I got my arm lasered in the first place is because I was interested to see how it works after recommending so many people to get it.
Right.
It's incredibly painful.
So does it hurt? Does the laser hurt more than the tattoo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It hurts probably 10 times more, but it's over in a minute and a half. I got my entire arm lasered in like 45 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But you have to go back they say 3 to 6 for a cover-up and 6 to 12 for a full removal.
And did certain inks break up faster than others? Or?
Yeah, the brand definitely determines, but it's like there's not really that many scientists looking into tattoo inks right now. They are all like FDA approved, but like
it's not like the cure for cancer.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not an American issue. You know what you're getting into when you get a tattoo. So.
Yeah. And pretty much the tattoo machines haven't changed over the years, really, have they?
Yeah.
Oh, they have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In the past, they were all based off kind of the electromagnetic. The electromagnet shoots a bar up and then comes back down. There's a needle on the end of it, so it drives up and down. Now, more recently, they've come up with a rotary machine, which is, as you can imagine, it's a rotary with a cam on it, and it spins that way. And it's a little more consistent and predictable than an electromagnet in my point. I only use rotary machines now.
Yeah.
But, a lot of that is actually like allowing people to do more crazy realism stuff. The tubes and stuff, they have like disposable tubes now. They have needle cartridges. So in the past, whenever you wanted a different needle grouping, like a liner or a shader, you had to set up a different machine for each one. Now they have tubes that you can screw cartridges in and out of, so you only have to set up one machine.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, you can do all tattoo with one machine, where in the past you had to set up like 3 or 4. So there's definitely come a long way, and there's definitely still working out kinks, but this has all happened in the past 5 years, and they've really mastered this technology. So
yeah. And I'm sure hygiene has to be the most important.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah. I mean, there's an autoclave. Most of the stuff I use personally now is disposable, just so I can throw it away and be done with it, and not have to clean anything at the end of the tattoo, because that's just extra work. And it's a better peace of mind, I think, too. Even when you put things in an ultrasonic and an autoclave, there's always that little thing in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I think there's something, even in the, speaking for the tattoo person, I've never gotten a tattoo, but I would like to think that going in and seeing someone open a brand new, set is in your mind, you're like, okay, I'm at ease, as opposed to No, I swear it came out of the autoclave.
Honestly, at this point in time, it's easier to just dispose of a needle in a shot container than it is to pull it in an autoclave and reuse the same needle.
Yeah.
Which is like the common, kind of taboo thing about tattoos. Like, oh, you reuse the same needle. Well, I mean, granted, if the person is actually cleaning the needle in that scenario, they would have to put in a lot of work to clean it to even get it to the point where it can go into the autoclave. Or you could just throw it out and open up a new one.
Right. It's
not that expensive where you need to clean them and reuse them.
Correct.
So clean needles are definitely a must. I've had a lot of receipts from tattoo supply companies for needles and tubes this year.
Yeah.
So disposable definitely costs more than cleaning them yourself, cleaning the metal tubes yourself, but
it's one of those things. It's like that cost is not worth.
It's like
problems.
When an EMT uses an IP, he's not gonna
clean it.
He's not gonna clean it. He's gonna just.
That idea's disgusting. For some reason, that seems way worse.
They're not hollow point needles either, which is everybody when they come in, they're like, oh, I hate getting blood drawn, but I don't mind tattoos. I'm like, well,
it's different.
One goes through like several layers of skin and into a vein. One goes in the first 2 layers of skin, drops some ink off and leaves.
Right. Yeah.
And the needles are smaller than sewing needles. There's like usually the smallest grouping that really anybody ever uses is 3. And it goes up to like 15. But they can either be flat like a paintbrush, or circles, or wide circles. And
so there's a whole different varied.
Yeah, there's I can't even count how many. The bug pins, long taper, short taper. There's a million different combinations for them. But you gotta kind of find which ones work for you, because it kind of depends on your style too.
Yeah.
Like how you tattoo, not necessarily like your art style, but how you move the machine itself.
And I think that's true about any kind of art. It's like we do these kind of intro to painting classes here in New World Tavern, and I'll be like, "Oh, use this brush." And someone's like, "I want to use this brush." And be like, "Knock yourself out. Like, whatever you feel comfortable. I'm just telling you what I'm using."
Yeah.
So I think that's true about any art form. So, you got to do what feels comfortable for you.
Yeah. That was definitely the hard part about getting into it. Is some people in the field feel that their way is the right way, and if you're apprenticing under one of these people, you're not really allowed to experiment very much.
So, right, you'd rather do it their way.
Yeah, and that's not always the right way for you. People like to think that there's one set of rules to do everything, but in reality you can take 8 different roads and get to the same destination.
So when you apprenticed, did you do it just under one person, or did you kind of try and get under a bunch of different people?
I was under one person. It was kind of a complicated situation. I won't get too much into, but yeah.
You need it. All right.
I'm double fisting right now.
All right.
No, but the apprenticeship was tough. It's a lot of I didn't tattoo for the first 6 months I was there. It's a lot of they call it paying your dues and showing that you're committed enough to get to it. I worked 4 to 5 jobs at a time when I was doing it. I worked 80 hours a week. I had one full-time job, and I delivered pizzas. That was when I was painting signs.
Yeah.
I would go to the tattoo shop 2 days a week, and then I would deliver pizzas at night, and occasionally do some other stuff for one of my previous bosses doing well drilling. But it definitely wasn't easy.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like you have to be super committed to kind of get.
You're not getting paid for it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, you're the bitch. Yeah. So you can do all the shit jobs around. Yeah.
So I started out doing practice skins and stuff like that. They actually, thanks to technology and 3D printing and all that jazz, you actually have 3D limbs now.
Mm-hmm.
That they can, they print out an actual hand and you can tattoo on it, and it actually it's pretty close to real skin. It's not quite the same.
Right.
The traditional method of practicing tattoos is on pig skin. So you go to the butcher and you pick up some pig skin.
I've heard that, and I've heard using grapefruits.
Yeah, I went through so many grapefruits.
Yeah.
But yeah. Pigskin I never did, because he was like, yeah, it's going to stink up the entire shop. Then they're done, they're not doing it.
Yeah. So, on our podcast, we always ask 2 questions. Is there something that you're reading, watching, listening to, that you're finding inspiration in that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Oh boy. I go through phases. I just finished the show Dexter. I thought that was really cool.
Could not get into that for the life of me. I
Yeah.
really, really tried.
Everybody said that. I thought it was interesting enough to.
Oh, I see. My friends loved it. I
Yeah.
don't know. It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, a lot of those shows. I mean, I was expecting a little more out of it, and I was kind of disappointed at the end. But
Yeah.
Breaking Bad was a great show.
So good. Love that. Have you watched Better Call Saul?
I watched the first season of it. It was.
I thought
awesome. I loved his
did
character.
not expect it to be good, but I really liked it. I thought it was really, really good.
They did a good job. I'm glad they brought Mike back.
Oh, yeah. That was excellent.
The Walking Dead is something I've watched since day one, and actually a lot of Stephen King books. That's been pretty much my favorite author my entire life.
Yeah.
Anything to do with the end of the world or zombies, not necessarily zombies, but nuclear.
I
Holocaust.
love apocalyptic movies.
Yeah.
Like, everyone, kind of badmouth them, but I like Waterworld. I love
Waterworld is a great movie.
The Postman.
I don't think I ever saw that.
Oh, The Postman's so good.
Yeah, check that
So
out.
it's like this apocalyptic world, and Kevin Costner is this dude who is kind of going, just trying to make his way, and he finds an old postal truck, and seeks shelter because it's the rain, and he steals the clothes off the skeleton in the front seat, and takes the bag of mail. And he comes across this town, and so they're trying to drive him away and about to shoot him, and he's going through the mail being so and so, and just reading off, and it finally hits on one, so they invite him in and they feed him, and he's yeah, the country's still going, and president is working on things, and inadvertently sets up a new postal system in the post-apocalyptic world.
That's awesome.
And it's the best kind of bad. It's awesome. Tom Petty's in it.
Really?
And flat out is Tom Petty. Kevin Costner turns to him, he's aren't you famous? And he's I used to be. And I highly recommend it. If you like Waterworld, you'll love Postman.
So 12 Monkeys is a cool movie.
Oh, 12 Monkeys is phenomenal. Love that one too.
I don't know, just the whole, the Fallout games are really cool, so
Yeah.
I don't have to play much video
No, I didn't necessarily swear off them, but I used to have a comic book shop in East Bridgewater, and when I opened the doors on that, I'm I can't play video games because I'll just sit and play them all day and nothing will get done. And I tried to get back into them at one point, and someone loaned me Splinter Cell. And I'm this is stupid. I have a gun, I want to shoot things, I don't want to hide.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's from that point on, I never kind of really got back into them.
I actually just bought an Xbox for myself last week, because I was getting to the point, I was starting to get a little tired of, working every day and every night.
Yeah.
You work all day and then you go home and for the next day. I was I don't really have any recreation time and I don't have any time to go on vacation. I want to buy an Xbox. And I bought Fallout for it, and that was really cool. It's and it still gives me some inspiration too, because the whole retro futuristic thing, a lot of the concept art that went into those games is nuts.
Yeah.
Even if you just buy a concept art book on it, you see old 50s cars that are kind of made to look futuristic, what they would have looked like if somebody was predicting the future in the 50s.
Nice.
And that's mainly the reason I played the game in the first place. So I really like the artwork for it.
Well, if you need another outlet, I highly recommend Inebri-art's live drawing on the first Monday of every month.
Yes.
How about that segue, right? That's pretty slick.
Nice.
So the first Monday of every month, New World Tavern, we do our live drawing. It's $8 entry fee. You bring what you want to work in, pencil, watercolors, ink washes, whatever, and draw from the model that we provide. Start time is 7 o'clock. I suggest getting there early because we're getting more and more people, and they're showing up earlier to reserve seats.
And there's beer.
And there's always beer. Pretty much everything we do, there's booze and beer, and it's our brand. You know? So we have that. Encourage our listeners to follow us on Facebook, like us on Twitter at Inebri-art. Our podcasts are now going up weekly instead of bi-weekly, so every Monday you can check out our new podcast on our Facebook page or go to iTunes. Please comment and rate our podcast, and if you have any questions, comments, want to tell me to shut the hell up, you can do so at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And Kyle, thanks for coming, man. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you, sir.